Yeah, this is a webinar from the Netherlands. We have presentations of 2 dairy farms. One is a research farm, De Marke. I will give a presentation about that research farm. And the other one is Stan Bosman, and he is a farmer in the Netherlands, and he also was the winner of the Dutch Dairy Challenge. So he is really an innovative farmer, and that's the second presentation. We live in a country with 18 million people, and that gives a lot of pressure on reduction of emissions, nitrogen, and also greenhouse gases, and also on nature. And what you see in this picture is that Stan Bosman is living in the east. De Marke is also a research farm in the east. And the south and the east of the Netherlands, we have a lot of nature areas. And in these parts, we have to reduce emissions. And we have to combine it with the land use planning. And in the northwest side of the Netherlands, there is more place for dairy farmer, for more intensive dairy farmers. And in the east, we should go to extensive land-based, nature-based dairy farming. And to work on reduction of emissions, ammonia and greenhouse gases, we have a lot of networks with groups of farmers in the Netherlands. This is a network which is also Stan Bosma involved in. And it's about emissions, it's about water quality, about biodiversity. It's a network with a group of farmers who are doing measurements, monitoring emissions, and also a lot of communication between those farmers. That's called netwerkpraktijkbedrijven in the Netherlands. This is also another network that I'm project leader of. It's a group of 150 dairy farmers and 45 advisors. Their goal is to reduce the crude protein in the dry matter to 155 to reduce ammonia emission. And that's a project which goes on until 2026. The research farm De Marke is a research farm on a very sandy soil. It started in 1993, and after a few years, we also make a network with commercial farmers. So it's a total group of about 17 farms on different soil types. And that network is already existing 25 years. So that's a very special network in the Netherlands with a lot of research, a lot of advisors, also policy makers from the Netherlands and from Europe looking at these farmers. And that network has played an important role in the Netherlands to introduce what we call the ENCA tool. That is an annual nutrient cycling assessment tool that calculates the crop production. It calculates the efficiency on animal level, on soil level, on farm level, and also calculates the emissions and the leaching of the nitrogen. And that tool is used at all 13,000 dairy farms in the Netherlands. And the data are coming automatically to a central database and calculates all those figures. Then I will focus more on the research farm, De Marke. First, I will go into the farming system and what targets do we have and what are we monitoring. And then I will tell about some experiments to adapt to climate change. So the goals on De Marke is it's a circular farming system on a very light sandy soil. And we try to minimize the losses of nitrogen, phosphor, and optimize the crop production, especially grassland and maizeland, minimize losses, and we monitor the complete system on soil, crops, feed, manure, and all the other minerals. De Marke is a farm with 80 dairy cows, 40 young stock. It has 50 hectares of sandy soil, more than 14,000 kilogram milk per hectare. That's about the average in the Netherlands. 2 hectares of nature, and also it's open for public. And there are 8 people working on farming and also doing research. Here you can see that it is really a very dry, sandy soil. So the organic matter in the topsoil is about maybe 30 centimeters, but if you go deeper, it's a very poor sand. And the crop rotation plan is very important to reduce leaching of nitrogen. We have a system at the Marke where we have 3 years of grass clover, and after that 3 years of maize, and the permanent is a mixture of grass and clover. So it's important that if you have a crop rotation between grass and maize, you have to do it quickly, not after 4 or 5 years, 5 or more than 4 or 5 years, because then you have a lot of leaching of nitrogen. And here in this picture, you can see that when we started in 1993, the years before the Marke started, the leaching of nitrogen was very high. In 1990, it was more than 200 milligrams of nitrate in the upper groundwater. And also in 1902, it was also much too high. And now it has to be lower than 50. That's the target. And you see sometimes it's a little bit above and sometimes it's a bit lower. And until 2010, we had 170 samples per year of the whole farming systems on all the fields. And after that, we changed to 16 samples per year. So if you have a good management of your manure management, fertilizing, good crop rotation, that's important. You can reach a lowering of nitrogen to the groundwater in a few years. This is the crop planned at the Marke at this year in 2024. You see that we have 34 hectares of grassland, from which 15 hectares is permanent grassland and clover. We have almost 30 hectares of maize, and we have some summer barley, because we think it's important that you have different types of energy, not only from maize, but also from barley. So we try to mix that a bit. Some alfalfa, that's the blue part, and we have fiber hemp. The fiber hemp is used to make material for buildings, and it's a good soil improver. That's why we have fiber hemp in the crop plan. The Marke is also monitoring, like I said, at all aspects. And this picture shows that the Marke is also a research station to test sensors to measure ammonia and methane in the stable, in the air. Because we in the Netherlands, we focusing now on how can we measure online every day the emissions. And then it is very important that you have good sensors. And the Marke is an official station that tests several of them. So it's a real-time monitoring of ammonia, methane, and carbon dioxide. And then you can measure the emissions. This picture shows the barn of the Marke. What you see on the left is a low emission floor, and we add also extra water to reduce the ammonia emission. And the extra water is quite a lot. It's about 30 liters per cow per day. So you need much more manure storage. And with the low emission floor combined with a low crude protein in the diet, you can reduce the ammonia emission about 50% at the Marke. And on the right, you see the sensors on the roof, which will be tested. Now, this is a picture that shows the targets and also the results. For example, the crude protein, the target is less than 153, and at this moment it's about 150. And also ammonia emission, greenhouse gases, the methane from the rumen and the nitrogen surplus, you see that it's all green. So we reach the target. But there is one target that is very difficult to reach. That's the percentage of protein from your own land. It's 56%, and we like to have it more than 65%. But it's lower because the market is growing a lot of maize on that sandy soil. So you should grow more grass to reach that goal. But the grass is not easy in that part of the Netherlands. And the market is also in discussion with the local farmers, but also policymakers, to have a dialogue that can farmers be rewarded for their reaching their goals. So we try to build a new business model that farmers will be paid for their sustainability indicators. We see, for example, at our dairy sector that Friesland Campina, for example, they paid a lot for more grazing, but now they changed to paying more higher milk price for reducing the CO2 emission. And that's a discussion which is still going on. How do farmers get more paid for lowering emissions, working on biodiversity, animal welfare, these kind of indicators. Now I change to the experiments on the market to anticipate to climate change. You see blue and red lines that the temperature from, I think, the last 100 years, you see the last year it's getting more red. So it's getting warmer, it's more wet, we have more wet periods, we have more dry periods. Especially this year is also very extreme weather. It was in the springtime, we had a lot of rainfall. It was not easy for the farmers to apply the fertilizer. To graze the cow was not easy, and even some people were very late to mow the grassland and to seed the maize land. So it's for many farmers a terrible spring this year because it's too wet. And yeah, we have wet periods, but we also have very dry periods. So if to anticipate on dry periods, you can do several things at your farm with crops. And we did experiments with sorghum that needs 25% less water than maize. But the feed quality is a little bit less than maize, but it needs less water. And so that's one of the solutions. And we also have a lot of herb-rich grassland with sigorij, plantain, clover in it, which has a more deeper roofs, more resistant to dry periods. So with the crops, you can anticipate on climate change. Another way is how do you irrigate your crops? And this is a picture that shows from 1993 until now how much sprinkling is going on at the market. And you see since 2018 we had several dry summer times, so we irrigate much more than the years before. And the green line is the water use on the grassland, and the yellow is on maize land. So it has increased a lot since 2018 because a lot of dry summer times. And these are 3 experiments which are going on at this moment. The first one is irrigation of high plots. What we do is in the east part of the Netherlands, we are looking for the high plots in the field, and we irrigate, we flush water on top of it, and then the water will go into the soil to store a lot of water which is coming in the winter time, to store it in the summertime. to put it on the high plots in that area. So that's one solution. The second one is drip irrigation in the soil, so underground. And you see on that picture that on the right side it's much greener than on the left side. And these are experiments with different grass species. And the third one is on maize land. We compare sprinkling with drip irrigation. And these are the results of the drip irrigation in the soil with different grass species. You see there on the left the graphs for drip irrigation, and on the right with no irrigation. So you see that the grass yield on average is, if you have no irrigation, it's about a little bit less than 9 ton dry matter per hectare. But if you have drip irrigation, it can go up to let's say almost 12 ton per hectare. It depends on the grass species. So yeah, drip irrigation is a good system to increase the grassland production. If you look at the sprinkling versus drip irrigation, we have several methods for drip irrigation. You see here 4 experiments. A is no irrigation, and B is drip irrigation above the ground, and the distance between the tubes is 75 centimeters. And C is also 75 centimeters, but it is underground, not on the top of the ground, but it's in the soil. And D is a little bit more distance between the tubes, so that is a cheaper system. So that's 150 centimeters, and it's also above the ground. Then if you look at the crop yield of maize, if you have no irrigation, it's less than 11 ton dry matter per hectare. If you have irrigation on the picture on the right, it's more than 30 ton per hectare. But if you have a drip irrigation system, you see no difference between the above the ground or in the soil, or even if you have it at 150 centimeter different, it's almost 17 ton dry matter of maize per hectare. So the advice is the cheapest way is irrigation between every 2 rows of maize. That's the cheapest way, and it works good. This is a picture of different grazing systems. The left one is that grass is too long for grazing. The more efficient way of grazing is with strip grazing, and the market has an efficient way with what we call siesta beweiding. So the cows are grazing in the morning and in the evening. So my final take-home messages for resilience based on the market is that the market is focusing on several sustainable criteria, and we try to make a new revenue model, a new business model, so that farmers also get paid for their what they achieve. And to anticipate to climate change, it's important to look at different crops. We have a rotation system with grassland, maizeland, and try out also sorghum. And a smart irrigation system for grassland and maizeland is also a good way to anticipate to climate change. And to reduce the emissions of ammonia and greenhouse gases and reduce the leaching of nitrogen, a smart crop rotation is important, like I explained, with maize and grassland every 3 years. Low protein. In the Netherlands, we try on average 155, and the market is even lower than that. And low emission housing system is also important. And we try to monitor it with online sensors. Yeah, this was my presentation about the market. Maybe there are some questions before we go on with the next speaker, Stan Bosman. Caroline, are there some questions?
Yeah, I'm here. There's a question from Peter Constra. Does the sorghum also increase the level of protein from own land? And how much water is irrigated?
Yeah, how much water it irrigated? Well, I showed that if you grow sorghum, it needs about 25% less water than maize. So you need much less irrigation. Yeah, and if you want to increase your protein of your own land, there are two ways. One way is to grow crops with more protein in it. Sorghum, it could be a way, but grassland, of course, has much more protein. And on the other hand, is to lower the concentrate input of the cows. Then because the concentrates are coming from outside your barn, and we try to feed the cows with no soya in it. We call it rapeseed and no soya, and that helps also to increase a bit the protein from own land. I hope that's a bit an answer, Caroline.
I hope so. Otherwise, Peter can maybe just switch on the microphone. Are there any other questions for Paul? If not, you can also ask them later, then we will continue with Stan.
Yeah. Okay. We continue. This is Stan, this is a nice picture from you, which is called Omission. And Stan, maybe you can start to explain what that means.
Yes. Thanks for inviting me for this webinar. And yeah, I came up with an idea a few years ago that the soil needs more oxygen to provide the soil life. And instead of dewatering the pasture with drains, we could maybe push air into it. And if we go to the next slide, Paul. I participated in a contest called the Dutch Dairy Challenge. New ideas in a challenge. We had an 100 days where we could find out if it was new, if there were some problems with it, and to make it more professional. Our ideas. One of our participators was Peter van Roesel. He's also in the Resilience for Dairy project, so it's a small world. But yeah, I tried to make it more professional, my idea. And if we go to the next slide, we can see a little movie I made.
Wat kunnen we leren van miljoenen jaren evolutie? Wat zijn de wetten die we vandaag kunnen toepassen in onze moderne landbouw? Is het opslaan van organische stof in een put handig? Of kunnen we anders omgaan met onze waardevolle mest? Door mest en urine aan de basis te scheiden op onze unieke scheidingsvloer ontstaat er een kans. Een kans om ons land te bemesten zoals de natuur het altijd heeft gedaan. Namelijk zuurstofrijk, vochtig, boven de grond, in het najaar en in een schimmelrijke omgeving. Urine kan in kleine porties tijdens het groeiseizoen worden bemest, waardoor efficiëntie wordt verhoogd. Door de gassen in de mestput af te zuigen en in de bodem te blazen, maken we van emissie een voedingsstof. Zuurstof stimuleert de bodemleven, methaan wordt omgezet in CO2 en water en ammoniak wordt voeding. De vitale bodem. Ingezet als filter voor de uitdagingen van vandaag en waar we groei van morgen voor terugstijgen. Onmisselijk als bron van leven.
It was a nice movie, Stan.
It wasn't that smooth. It was a little shabby, but that is not a problem. As Paul told us, I'm one of the participants of een netwerk praktijkbedrijven, where the Mark is also part of. And what I was always wondering was the nitrogen soil surplus and what we put on our soils from fertilizer. There's something in our cycle gets lost. It's about as much as we put on it with fertilizer. Yeah, that's a system that is not sustainable enough, I guess. So I was wondering, how can we improve that? If you go to the next slide. I take the soil as a basis for the barn of the future. I think when we build a new barn, we should make it that way, that the manure which comes out of that barn is profitable for our soils. And if we go to the next slide, you can see that I was inspired by regenerative agriculture, where we put all the organic matter on top of the soil. Thus we don't put anything into the ground. In the Netherlands, we have to put our manure in the ground by law. So I think that's not a system that works for our soil life. If we go to the next slide.
Stan, what are you seeding here?
Yeah, this is a cover crop which is directly seeded with a new crop. So the seeds are put in the ground directly. You see this more and more. It started I guess in the United States. And what they do is they roll the cover crop with a crimper, so it's covering the soil. And when there's a rainy days or flooding, it holds the water better, and it's the system has always living roots in the soil. And with living roots, there's more CO2 captured, or carbon is captured into the soil, and I guess that's one of the most important nutrients for our soils.
Okay.
If you look at the first step in digestion of organic matter, it's fungi rich. You see mushrooms in autumn, and that's the first step. Leaves fall from trees, and the first step is the fungi who make the nutrients for the next year. And what we always do is put our manure in spring into the bottom, into the soil. So I think it's need to be on top of the soil, so the digestion of the nutrients will go in the right order. We go to the next slide. We see the digestion of the soil. I think it's similar from our human beings. If we have an apple, we have to put it in the mouth first to make it small pieces, so the bacteria can work it further on in the stomach, and after it in all the rest. And we need to look at our soil in the same way. We have to put the apple in the mouth and not in the stomach. If we go to the next slide, to make that happen, we have to separate manure and urine on the floor. This is a floor I made on my own farm. It's a rubber top, about 40 centimeters wide, on top of our concrete housing, and the pit is about close to about 90%, and a scraper will will move the manure, or a robot. I prefer the robot because then you have not that much manure at the end of the end. So, but I want to put organic matter in my boxes as well. So yeah, it's a bit difficult to get that those two combined. The manure, I will put it in a pump, and I want to pump it from underneath like a mole hope, so that the manure storage will grow from underneath. Then the wet manure gets underneath the dry manure, and it grows higher, and the moist which comes out will leak through sand through a drain pipe, and the moist from the manure, we will put it back with the urine underneath the floor in the stable. So you have the fast parts and the slow parts, the organic matter parts separated, so we can put the organic matter in autumn on the fields. And I guess that's for the soil life. It's better, but we need to separate the urine so it doesn't we don't lose the fast nitrogen during winter. Then the extraction of emissions, we came up with a system. You see here from the left to the right in the field, the blue drains. They're about 60 centimeters deep. On the right side, the red line, it's the collection of water. It's a main drain which collects the water. And the yellow drain on top of the drains is we put air in that. It's the aeration pipe. We connected them all. If you look to the next slide, so the drains are connected to the air pipe, and in this way we can blow air into the drains. And if we go to the next slide, we use an van, an industrial van, to suck the air out of the barn from underneath where they walk. And yeah, in this way we can put the methane and the ammonia and also oxygen. So the oxygen provides more soil life. Ammonia will plants can grow on ammonia, and the methane, they will divide in CO2 and water. And yeah, in this way we can use emissions for growth. At the end of the drain, we have a swan neck. They separate air and water. If you look at the green pipe, it's a little wider, and it stands about a meter straight up in the ground. The drain goes almost to the end into the pipe, and the water will make more pressure. So if we put pressure on the drain, the water will push it back, and in this way the air will get lost in the soil. Methane is about 80% comes from the mouth, and about 20% from the manure. So we thought up a system to collect the methane in the feeding when they eat. And this is we didn't do this yet, but we're going to research what the perspective is on this one. How much methane can we collect, and is it useful to put that in the ground as well? So in my barn, this is my barn, and I made a feed belt, and I did it for two reasons. One, I have a really narrow barn, so cows couldn't pass one another, and in this way, all the cows are on top of the feeding lane, and I have lots of extra space in my barn. And on the left picture, you see a bunker, a feeding bunker. I put my corn and silage on top of one another, little bit of concentrates in it, and there are big rotators who mix it all to another. If you look at the next slide, Paul, you can see it working. It's combined, and the feed belt will pull in all the feed. This happens four times a day. So and every day, every time it gets new feed, it will remove the old feed and put it aside. If there's a lot, we can put it on top again, so we can they can digest it further. But yeah, this is working for about a year now, and I had I came from 9,000 liter average, and it's about 10,000 now, only by changing the feeding strategy, feeding more times a day, available for more cows than that was before. We go to the next. Here we see the pasture that has been aerated. From the left to the right, you see the green lines. That's above the drains where we put the air in. I made two pastures. One with aeration from the manure pit, and one we want to put outside air into the ground, just to see what happens. There's when you put outside air in the ground, it's 80% nitrogen, and yeah, maybe life in the soil will provide from it, and the oxygen is also a big plus for this system. So the take-home messages: use emissions as source for soil life. Focus on efficiency instead of emissions. I think if we only focus on emissions, we can remove those emissions with old techniques and lots of costs, lots of input of energy and other stuff. But I think if we focus on efficiency, that's a resilient model for our dairy farms. So I think the focus at this point is yeah, a little bit in the wrong direction in the Netherlands. Yeah, if we focus on efficiency, it yeah, provides us. Learn from more natural processes. What I said, it's a fungi-rich system when in the fall. Yeah, that's things we have to try. We have about 35% use of the nitrogen which we put on our grounds. The efficiency is very low. We lose 65% in our total dairy nutrient cycle. So I think it offers lots of opportunities to do it better. But then you have to get the space to make things different. And yeah, that's something we need to work on. On this whole system, assumptions need to be tested. So there's lots of things like ammonia. If we put it in a drain together with water, will it leak out into the ground, into the water? Yeah, those are things we need to find out. And yeah, lots of questions to be which we can ask ourselves. So if we go to the next slide, that's my presentation on Missie Rethink Emissions.
Yeah, Stan, thank you very much. Very nice presentation. Now I look for Caroline if there are any questions.
Yes, I'm here. There was a question, I think that's about your presentation, Paul. The question is, how big was the total reduction in NH3 emissions by the combination of low protein feeding and the low emission floor? And can you...
Okay, that was a question of the marker. Yeah. Well, the average ammonia emission in the stable in the Netherlands is 13 kilogram ammonia per cow per year. And at the marker, we are somewhere around 7 kilogram ammonia per cow per year. And that's the combination of the low emission floor and lowering crude protein. Now, in the Netherlands, that we try to lower ammonia emission by management. That means another way of feeding, which can be applied at every farmer. It's much cheaper than if you look at housing systems. And every gram less protein is about 1% less ammonia emission. So the average in the Netherlands is now 165 crude protein. So if we go back, if we lower it to 155, we have 10% less ammonia emission, which can be applied at almost a lot of dairy farms. I hope that is an answer to that question.
Okay, and the second part of that question was, can you allocate the reduction by feed measures and by the low emission floor?
Say it again? Can you
allocate the reduction by feed measures and by the low emission floor?
Well, feed measurements, like I said, feed is 1 gram less crude protein is about 1% less emission. So the marker is about 150 crude protein. So if the average in the Netherlands is 165, that means 50% less ammonia due to crude protein. And the other one is coming from the low emission floor. Yeah, Caroline, I hope that will
be. Yeah, for the chat, that's all the questions. Maybe you have other questions. Then just raise the hand or write it in the chat now. Or if you have some comments, here's another question. Can you see it?
Can you hear?
Yes, somebody is coming.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes. Hi, Caroline. Thank you very much, Galama and Stan, for your presentation. I was really impressed. At least your presentation, Stan, was really nice. You did told me already a lot about it the last time that we were on tour. But anyway, I was also a little inspired about it because in Denmark, we don't have this kind of a project. And I think maybe I should suggest to tell the big guys who is in the top to organize this, because it's a really motivating for young farmers to get their ideas in the world. And I think this is a really good idea. It's also the problem we have with emission and all kinds of things, and CO2. That's one of the biggest challenges we have in Denmark is CO2. But I would like to ask a little bit more about your systems then. That is, we have, of course, not such a flat ground, some you have in Holland. What about if we get hills? Is this technical possible to do something on your system with air and, of course, drains, if we have a little bit hilly fields?
Yeah, and that shouldn't be a problem if we put the air on top of the hill into the system. Yeah, then it shouldn't be a problem. It will just push that, and you have to wonder if you have to end the drain into the water. If you have a hilly system, then water will not be the biggest problem, I guess. So if you put the air in on top, that's not a problem.
No. Okay.
Good.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. In the chat is another question for Stan. The drains end in water. How do you adjust pressure in the drains when water level is changing, lowering? And what in case of dry periods when there is no water in the ditch?
Yeah, I always have water in the ditch, and if there's we have a dry period, I pump my ditch full of water. So I have also level. How do you call it? The drains are underwater always. So there's pressure from water, which I provide the land from water. How do you call it? Paul, you know it.
What do you mean?
Level.
The groundwater level?
Peilgestuurde drainage.
Yeah, your drains can be, you can drain the water and you can infiltrate the water.
Yeah,
And
it's also infiltration of water in the drains, and I have my own water level. I can hold back my water, and I provide the ditch from extra water, so the water will get in the pastures through the drains.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and, Caroline, can I take it over? I see some questions.
Yeah, go on.
Peter Konstra is asking the question, do you also check the temperature of the air that's blown into the soil?
Yeah. We don't check it, but I see that as an opportunity when we heat the ground. We can get an extension of our period. We can grow products on. Also from industrial processes, maybe our soil can serve as a filter for heat, which is normally getting lost in industry. But I think global warming that's here and now. But if we use global warming, we grow more plants on it. More plants is more CO2 into the soil, and it's a chance. So I think the solution for global warming is global warming.
Okay, but Stan, can you say something about, does your system work in the wintertime as well as in the summertime? Because in the wintertime, the grass is not growing very much. Does that have impact on your system, you think?
Yeah, I think we need to overthink what we grow. Maybe also in grassland we can grow winter crops.
Okay.
That's the thing I'm looking at right now. If you always have living roots into your soil, there's always carbon being put in the ground, and for your soil life, I think it's a big prey.
Okay, Stan, there is a question from Abel Kuipers, who was asking the question, how are decision makers reacting to all of your ideas? You get a lot of people on your farm, and
yeah.
so
Yeah,
so
there's lots of attention from the press and also from the decision makers. They wonder where my ideas come from and how we can apply it. But they also see lots of difficulties by putting the how I can apply it. That's we're so stuck in the system what we did for years, and what I say to decision makers, if we're not willing to lose the sight on the coast, you will never find new oceans. So you have to try something, and I don't think all of Netherlands should do this, but at least give me a chance to prove that I'm right, and maybe I'm wrong. Then we also learn something. But if we do the same thing over and over again, yeah, don't expect another outcome. You need to try different things, and yeah, I hope I get the space that I can try my ideas.
Stan, was that also the reason why you won the Dutch Dairy Challenge? Because you try to try out other things?
Yeah, it was a total out of the box idea. That's what the jury said, and yeah, I hope winning the prize is a start of new ideas in practice.
Okay. I don't see other questions yet, but if somebody wants to raise his hand or want to ask another question, please do so. Otherwise, I would come back to the remark from Denmark, who said it was a very nice idea and we should look at it from different countries. Stan, you have a combination of several innovations. You told about the separation of phases in urine, about putting air in the soil, but also to catch methane from the cows close to the feed alley. So to catch not only methane from the manure, but also methane, the enteric methane coming out of the mouth. And that's also an example with some colleagues we are working on. We also went to Denmark, to Poland, to discuss this. So I'm very happy that we get some reaction from Denmark. So catching methane and how to filter methane is not easy if you take the methane from the air, but that should be a big challenge to combine ammonia, methane in an innovative way. And Stan has a nice solution, and we hope it works, Stan.
And there are some other possibilities. I have a heating here in my house that gives CO2 and a little water and hot air. And yeah, maybe we can put that in the ground as well. If we look at those ways, about 15% of the worldwide methane is being produced in waste pits. So from waste, we can maybe collect the methane and put it directly in the soil and use the soil as a filter. So there are more things you can use it for. It's not only on dairy farms, but I think it's it's a process we can use wider than only dairy or cattle.
Okay, Stan, thanks a lot. Yeah, I don't see any questions anymore, but maybe I see a lot of people in the background of you, Maria. You like out of the box ideas, isn't it? What do you think of this idea, Maria, of your group behind you? What is your first reaction on that, Maria? You want to say something or not? Oh, your microphone, Maria, is not on. No, you don't hear me, Maria? No, I don't think so.
No,
Oh, yeah.
Paul.
Yes. Yes. Do you like the idea, Maria, of Stan?
Yeah, we don't have students, but we have professors from Ukraine.
Ah. Yeah. Do you have a reaction? Okay. But Maria, what do you think of it? Maria, can you hear me? No, otherwise we should stop now. Caroline, yes?
Yes.
We've
If-
had all the questions, you think?
Yeah.
Okay, then everybody, thanks a lot for listening to our presentation, and have a good day. Keep it this way.
Thanks a lot to you. Thanks to Stan. It was really interesting. And wish you a nice
Thank you.
day.
Can you stay for a minute, Caroline and Stan?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bye.
Okay.